Shalom Akim, all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutation to you, Akim, doing the work in truth and sincerity. This video is basically going to be entitled Giving Some Clarity on Genesis 12 or something along those lines, which is because of what Ted Cruz, the senator you see on the screen, had said about being if you bless Israel, you'll be blessed. And I got a few just some edifying points to make about that scripture. So without further ado, let's play it.
Let's get into Iran momentarily, but you suggested it was a strange thing that I said a minute ago, that when I came into the Senate, I resolved that I was going to be the leading defender of Israel. And which,
by the way, fair use, and I'm not making no money off this video. It's for education and review purposes.
you didn't ask us why, so let me tell you why.
No, you said I was obsessed with Israel, and you had just told me that, like, your driving motive to get to the Senate was to defend Israel. I'm like, I don't think I'm the one who's obsessed with Israel.
Okay,
I don't even think about Israel.
Tucker, words matter. And you know that. I said I resolved to be the leading defender of Israel, and you said your driving motive, the reason you're in the Senate.
You want to be the leading defender of Israel. I would think if I ran for Senate, I'd be like, there are people dying of drug abuse on the street.
My driving motive is to fight for Texas and America, and to fight for jobs, and to fight for the Constitution. And you played a very, very careful word game of eliding.
You're the one who said it, not me.
So you still haven't asked why, but I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
And the reason is twofold. Number one, as a Christian, growing up in Sunday school, I was taught from the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and those who curse Israel will be cursed.
Okay, let's pause it here. And the scripture he's talking about is here, Genesis 12, and I'm going to start at 1. Now the Lord, and you know when it's all caps, is actually talking about the Most High, which is Yahweh. Now Yahweh had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So this is the scripture right here of all this debate. So let's go back to this here.
And from my perspective, I want to be on the blessing side of things.
Of those who bless the government of Israel?
Those who bless Israel is what it says. It doesn't say the government of, it says the nation of Israel.
And that's important too. Like he said, words are important. So Tucker Carlson said those who bless the government of Israel, and they had a back and forth. And I'm going to play this while I show something on this screen.
So that's in the Bible. As a Christian, I believe that.
Where is that?
I can find it to you. I don't have the scripture off the tip of my... You pull out the phone and use the...
It's in Genesis. But so you're quoting a Bible phrase you don't have context for it, and you don't know where in the Bible it is, but that's like your theology? I'm confused.
So we're going to stop it there, and I'm going to actually read this. Israeli, because this is what Tucker Carlson was basically saying. Citizen of the state of Israel, 1948, from Israel, Hebrew national designation, suffix E or I. Also used in English as an adjective, 1948. It distinguishes the citizens of the modern state from the ancient people who had been known in English since the 14th century as Israelites. In other words, those people from 1948 are not the ancient people known as the Israelites. When you look up Israelite, it simply says a Jew, one of the people of ancient Israel, a descendant of Israel or Jacob. Very simple. However, when you talking about the 1948ers, no, they're not the people. And that's basically what Tucker Carlson was saying without saying it.
What does that even mean?
Tucker,
I'm a Christian. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay. Where does my support for Israel come from? Number one, because biblically we're commanded to support Israel, but number two...
Hold on. No, hold on. You're a senator, and now you're throwing out theology, and I am a Christian, and I am allowed to weigh in on this. We are commanded as Christians to support the government of Israel?
We are commanded to support Israel, and we're
What does that mean, Israel?
Right. Now, earlier he said the nation of Israel. However, Tucker Carlson is making that distinction, the government of Israel, because that's who Ted Cruz is supporting, which I just showed you that they are not the ancient people. This is Etymology Online. This is a book that Edomites wrote. So they know this information. It's not like the senator can't look up this information. And then he says he's someone who's been in church since he was young, Christian, quote unquote. And you mean to tell me he haven't read this scripture? Psalms 80, the 83rd chapter, and starting at the first verse. Keep not thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. And as you read down, it gives the list of all the nations that were confederate against Israel, cutting them off from being a nation, or cutting them off from being known. Verse 5, for they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Selah. So, all these nations came together to cut off the remembrance of the nation of Israel, which we know are the so-called Negroes, Indians, Latinos today. So, this information, I'm sure Ted Cruz has. But, Tucker Carlson is trying to get that out of him. Why? Because, hey, the 1948ers that created state, the Israelis, the JOO wish people, they're not the people. They're trying to make you forget the name of Israel, the Israelites. That's why they say everything is JOO wish. Because if everything is JOO wish, or they're the Israelis, then the Israelites are no more known. So there goes the distinction. Now, let's go to another video, because we're trying to get clarification on this scripture here. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curses thee, and in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So I came across this video here where it talks about the civilization of the Moors, and it's talking specifically about I forget the name, but it was the capital in Spain, the last capital that we held in Spain, and we were known as Moors at that time. And this guy Robin Walker, hey, I watched most of this video, and he goes deep, and but he gives a lot of history on the kingdoms that Jake established, and the kingdoms that Jake had. And Granada, I believe, is the name of it. And it was, the last stronghold in Spain that we held. And he reads about 3-4 paragraphs of this book that Edomite historian wrote. And basically it goes into a little bit of the history of what happened during that time. And I'm going to play about 3 or 4 minutes of this, so it's very edificational, so as far as the history goes. So I want to play about 3 or 4 minutes of it. Again, fair use. I'm not making no money off this. I'm just playing for edification and review purposes. So let me go to about here. I'm gonna play about 3 or 4 minutes of it. Goddamn
Hey guys,
commercials.
did you know some drivers
Shit.
are ditching their car insurance and they're doing this in
All right.
Veiled. Does that make sense? But you can see her hands. All right, check this out, you all.
The only remnants of Islamic Al-Andalus in this procession are these giant puppets of Granada's last Muslim rulers, Boabdil and his queen. But of the Jews, nothing remains. And those who converted even lost their identities. They were given Christian names. But to the church, they would always be infidels at heart.
Did you like the portrayal of Abu Abdallah and his mother? Are you feeling that? And notice it wasn't me that did that. It ain't got nothing. They didn't ask me, trust me.
Right now, just showing the last ruler of Granada and his mother, which said they were veiled, but you could see their hands. Then the person that was walking them out, the second person was the mother, the last person was the ruler, which you seen their hands. They're both dark skinned, so that says it all. And I'm not going to interrupt anymore. I'm going to let them read these paragraphs, and then I'm going to come back with that scripture again.
That's how the Spanish are remembering that. All right, a European scholar's assessment. Professor Lane Poole says, in 1492, the last bulwark of the Moors gave way before the crusader Ferdinand and Isabella, and with Granada fell all Spain's greatness. For a brief while indeed, the reflection of the Moorish splendor cast a borrowed light upon the history of the land, which it had warmed with its sunny radiance. The great epoch of Isabella, Charles V, Philip II, Columbus, Cortez, and Pizarro shed a last halo about the dying moments of a mighty state. Then followed the abomination of desolation, the rule of the Inquisition, and the blackness of darkness in which Spain has been plunged ever since. In the land where science was once supreme, the Spanish doctors became noted for nothing but their ignorance and incapacity, and the discovery of Newton and Harvey were condemned as pernicious to the faith. Where once 70 public libraries had fed the minds of scholars and 500,000 books had been gathered together a Cordova for the benefit of the world, such indifference to learning afterwards prevailed that the new capital, Madrid, possessed no public library in the 18th century. And even the manuscripts of the Escurial were denied in our own days to the first scholarly historian of the Moors, though himself a Spaniard. The 16,000 looms of Seville soon dwindled to a fifth of their ancient number. The arts and industries of Toledo and Almeria faded into insignificance. The very baths, public buildings of equal ornament and use, were destroyed because cleanliness savored too strongly of rank infidelity. In other words, if you washed yourself too much, that proves that you're not a real Christian. Get it? That's what that means, right? The land, deprived of the skillful irrigation of the Moors, grew impoverished and neglected. The richest and most fertile valleys languished and were deserted. Most of the populous cities which filled every district of Andalusia fell into ruinous decay, and beggars, friars, and bandits took place of scholars, merchants, and knights. So low fell Spain after she had driven away the Moors. Such is the melancholy contrast offered by her history. Now let me just say one thing about this. In the 19th century, that's the period where scholars were developing theories of white racial superiority. Does that make sense? And there was something that was around called the Negro question. And the great philosopher John Stuart Mill addressed the Negro question by saying two things. What about ancient Egypt? And the next one was, what do you think he said next? What about Spain? And at the time, no one could answer. Because, this book had come out. What were people going to say now? What about Spain? All right, so.
I just wanted to play that part right there. You seen when the Moors left. When the Moors got there, they had several public libraries to educate the world, and the Moors were, of course, Israelites. In the Muslim religion, quote unquote. They had several public libraries to educate the world, several public baths, so so everybody can visit and clean themselves. And when Esau took over, the education failed. They destroyed the libraries. They even made rules and laws in place to say if you clean yourself too much, then you're not a proper Christian. You're an infidel because you clean yourself too much. Because Jake had public baths. So you can just imagine, even if someone was poor, they could go clean themselves. Even if someone didn't have the means, they can go educate themselves. That's how Jake ruled. So, that just goes to show once Jake was taken out of power and they disgraced Jake, what happened? They fell into decay. Their doctors was dumb and their people were stinky and dirty. So now, like I said, I wanted to go back to this scripture here in Genesis to get clarity. Genesis 12:3, and I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee, and in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed. The rulership that Jake had in Granada, Spain, before they were taken down and after, basically embodies this scripture. When Jake was in rulership, the people were blessed. They had education for the world because the books that were written were all knowledgeable. The way that they lived with the public baths and everything, hey, it helped everybody. But when Esau got in power, all of it was shut down. In other words, a curse. And you can see that even happening to this day in this city called America. And like I said, this video was to give clarity on Genesis, the 12th chapter, which Tucker Carlson was interviewing Ted Cruz on. And the example came from, Robin Walker, the professor of this, the Hidden Science Academy, I suppose it is. And this video, like I said, I watched almost all of it. So, and it was a very educational video. If you want to go into the history of Jake's rulerships, hey, they have several videos like that, and they are good videos for education purposes. So, but yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Now you know what this scripture means, because the Israelites are the so-called Negroes, Indians, Latinos, and the speckled bird around the globe, because we were scattered into the four corners of the earth. So, and the world will be blessed when we're in rulership, and it'll be cursed when we're not. And you can see that happening right now, because Esau is in rulership right now, and hey, the world is not blessed. I can tell you that. And with that, I hope to be accurate and edify. Until the next time, all praise and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Bashim Kokodas. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutation to you, Akim, doing the work in truth sincerity. Shalom.